Okay. Real quick, I made a video this morning, this video, in a sense, but it was just way too long. I hate it when 15, 16 minutes. I'm like, dude, you just got to shut up. So we're going to speed this up. I started out as a prepper channel. That's how I started here on YouTube. Okay, started watching videos back in 2008. Started making videos in 2014, 10 years ago. Geez, that's quick. So I started making videos. The topic was pretty much SHTF, WRL, this kind of stuff. At the same time, I had been, I don't know how else you put it, but I kind of had a spiritual experience in 2008. And at the same time, I was, what's the word? I guess researching, looking into Christianity, because I had all kinds of questions. I needed answers. So I was reading different Bibles, watching preachers and all this stuff. At the same time, and prepping, although it was called survivalism, has always been around my family since I was a little kid. We get George Orwell's 1984 and all this kind of stuff and blah, blah, blah. So it's always been around. Nothing new for us. But at that time, I noticed that the whole prepping thing, because I'd made videos for quite a while, a couple of years, the whole prepping thing really gave me a bad attitude. And so here it is, at the same time, I'm trying to walk out this Jesus gospel teaching kind of thing, telling other people to do the same. Meanwhile, I hate half the population. And so I had to, I got to reconcile that. I can't, this ain't where these two agendas do not live together. Love your brother and hate the rest. So I knew at that time I got to stop the prepping thing. And I made a video about it and, lost some subscribers or whatever, people, whatever. That was no big deal. So I really don't talk about it much since then, when before it was 110% of my content. But that's why I did it. It was just, I had to make a decision that I can't have this attitude and continue to claim to be following the teachings of Jesus, because then you're just living a lie. So, but in the meantime, I'm still a participant on this planet. I still see things, watch things, and go, so I'm not blind. But if you'd gone back to as late as 2016 and said, hey, we're going to have a couple millions of people walk across that border, and heck, we'll probably be funding most of it, but we have millions of people walking across the border. At some point, we're going to force shots on the population. We're going to have lockdowns. We're going to have a fragile dollar. That's never been a surprise. We're going to have this gender thing. Matter of fact, we'll take it so far we might emasculate little boys. We're going to reignite the Cold War. We're going to lose our faith in the Department of Justice. I never thought that would be a thing. And matter of fact, not an FBI agent went rogue, but the FBI whole shebang went rogue. Figure that one out. And there's a handful of other things I'm sure I'm missing. Had you told me any of those things, if you told me something like that in 2016, I would have said, oh, no way. If that's the case, we would have already come apart. It would already be over. That can't happen. Maybe one of those things could happen. Maybe two of those things could happen. But everything I mentioned is either happening or already happened. What did I mention? 8, 9, 10 things there? It's all happened. It's all fact. So if you look at my old prepper mind kicks in, as it does from time to time, you can see where this is the worst it's ever been. We still have it good. Power's on, hot water, I got food, I could still move around freely. But as far as actual points of interest or points of potential chaos, where things can light up, the conditions are ripe for whatever. And I really think where we're heading, it's going to be chaos. They're sowing chaos. We could have bad people that have come across the border, and they start getting they get fired up and start doing nasty things, like tourists. Maybe they bring a new disease. Maybe there's infrastructure thing, powers out, hacking, whatever, or another BLM. I didn't even bring up BLM. I mean, one of those things can happen, but not all of that. All of that has happened. It's mind-blowing. All of that has happened. I never would have even speculated something like that in 2016. And I'm a cynic, man. No one's more negative about this stuff than I am. But I think they've sown potential chaos in many different forms. And I don't know, I'm preaching to the choir. You guys get this. But all over the place. Where they can actually, it's like a menu. Well, hey, let's shut down commerce over here. Let's jail these people. We need to have an event over here so we can just do this whole thing or whatever. But I think they've sown enough different things to create chaos on many different levels, many different places, at many different times, or at the same time, where it'll come back to we're going to beg for martial law. They'll call it something else, but it's for your own safety. We're going to lock down again. Whether, I didn't mention elections. I never trusted the elections, so that wouldn't have surprised me. But I think what it's going to be, I think we're going towards some sort of martial law, some sort of lockdown. And this has been said before, but many times. But my God, how many different, when they talk about conditions are right, man, conditions are right. You got a government in trouble. You got a president in trouble. You've got, like I said, I don't want to preach to the choir, but I've never seen someone say, if you see this, there's something coming. Or if you see that, there's probably something coming. Well, what happens when you see all these things? Something's coming. That's all, So what's the solution? I'm pointing to the obvious, but, all this is possibly going wrong. What's the solution? Back then, I would have said, well, we got to get more Republicans involved. You got to vote harder. Even though I had zero faith in the Republican Party, I'm still pissed off over them trying to get me to vote for McCain and Romney. But I still had the system. Well, we got some good Republicans in there. Get rid of these rhinos. We got to get the right Republicans in there. They're a bunch of crooks. I've got no party. There's no. I didn't change, but the Democrats are honest enough to rob you through the front door, where the Republicans are taking it out the back. Any time they can shut down the border. The Republicans themselves can shut down the border. They control the money. There's so many. It's mind-boggling. It doesn't take much. I'm a slow learner, but I knew not long ago that the Republican Party is no good. So there's not like, well, this Democrat thing is so bad, so we got the Republicans in there to fix it. They're not the fix. They're not the fix. So the vote harder thing. If we have an election, which I'm having doubts, who are you going to vote for? We have no one. We have no team. I have no team. There's no one I could vote for. I think this guy represents me, because none of these people represent me. But anyhow, here I am, this old dude, cranky SOB, with a lot of questions. Hey, where's this thing going to go? What should I do? Do I have to start thinking prepper mindset again, or this kind of thing? And I go back to John 14:15. If you go back and read chapter John 14 in the Gospel of John, where he says, me, the Father, the Spirit of truth, and the Holy Spirit will come to you. If you follow my teachings, walk in my ways, if my words are in you, if you obey my commands, I'm paraphrasing, then we will come and live within you. Speaking spiritually, we'll come and live within you. We'll manifest ourselves to you. And the Holy Spirit will teach you all things. The Holy Spirit will teach you all things, all that I've said. So if there was ever a time, everyone's old enough to see the bumper sticker, no Jesus, K-N-O-W, no Jesus. This is what that means. You should know Jesus. In other words, you should be able to hear him. He should hear you. We should have a thing going on, because I think that's, and I'm preaching to myself here. Okay, don't, but go read John 14, start praying, start meditating on it, and ask questions. Hey, what's going on here? Is this going to get as bad as we think it is? Where do you want me? How am I going to protect my family? Do I have to depend entirely on myself and all this kind of thing? Or do you want me somewhere else? Do I need to handle this some other way? So I believe you are who you say you are, and you have all the answers. Hey, I'm listening. Yeah. I think this thing's a mess. We were not going... I don't think we're putting the genie back in the bottle on this one. This thing's a mess. I don't like to talk about this stuff, but it's my God, I was thinking about it a couple of days ago. It's like, could this get any more messed up? Could this get any more unfixable? It's like if you had a can of a 1 gallon can of brand new paint. You're going to paint the house. You peel the lid off, and you drop it. You pour it out all over the sand and dirt. You're done. Paint's over. You get a shovel. You ain't getting this back in the can. This whole thing's been spilled. People don't have the attitude for it. People are in a divisive attitude. They're not in a, hey, let's come together and fix this thing. There's none of that. And I don't blame them, to be honest with you. 11 minutes. I shut this off. Read John 14. Jesus says, through the Holy Spirit, he will teach you all things. That's got to mean what he says it means. Okay, and we're at a crossroads. We're at many crossroads. Where do I need to be? I don't want to go through this thing alone. All things are, doable with Jesus. So I don't want to go through all this alone. What do I need to do for my family? What do I need to? How should I prepare? That's a great prayer right there. Hey God, how do you want me to prepare for this? This thing looks like a mess. Okay, they run this thing in the ditch. How do I get out? But that knowing Him, start praying, start asking questions. Where do you want me? What do you want me to do? How are we going to get through this thing? Because we ain't fixing this. I hate to tell you kids. We'll revolution or we'll do this or that. We're not fixing this thing. There are too many broken pieces. And it's like we have a puzzle with missing pieces. Pieces are gone. We can get those pieces back. We know where they are. And somebody threw in some other oddball piece. We're not putting this thing together. Ain't no end in sight on this. It's just a matter of how long will it take before this thing just blows to the wind. That's my opinion. Start praying. John 14. Go to the top. Go to the source. Love you. God bless.